Hello, welcome to the Reframing Mindset podcast. We are clear my head of the thoughts that are preventing clarity to practice my speech, among other things. Episodes range from informative knowledge to funny stories about my experiences, and in the future, maybe include interviews. So subscribe and enjoy. Episodes drop every other day. Okay, welcome back to Reframe Mindset Podcast. My name is Colin Smith Brooks. I know this episode is a really special one for me because, it kind of just came to me that, this podcast has weirdly became one of my, my childhood dream that came true, in a weird way. I have to wonder how that came about, so if if you know me, well, you wouldn't know me, but back in primary school and such like that, I was pretty young, and so you know, people were older than me and such like that. So my I was pretty things that people would talk about wouldn't really even make sense to me at those times, with us doing my own thing and such like that. But over time, as I getting bigger grades, grade one and such like the higher grades, you know, like you have those feelings where in your head you want to do something. No, but I was mostly shy, So in those times I would like want something to happen, but I was just too afraid to either go to the person or what or ask or try to make it happen, So usually just me thinking about it, thinking about doing those and then failing and then going home, and just being in the house and then, when it's time to go to sleep and such like that. I never usually go to sleep the same time, It usually takes for a while for me to go into that deep sleep. So it was usually those times filled with imaginary stories of me just basically thinking about making up stories about that whole scenario going right, and such like that. And, every day, every night. That was basically it, And this podcast is basically this manifestation of it, It's like the perfect thing that just came into being at the right time. We kind of basically talk about anything. All those things that would be in my head. I just basically talk about it here, And, I've gone past that whole paranoia stage where, where I would say, okay, yeah, I don't really want to talk about this. But, I passed that stage, and now I can look at it and say, I'm glad I actually started podcasting. Well, if I never started podcasting, I would really know that, all those, it would be this. And the moment when I kind of realized it was basically when, all those things that I said I usually do in my younger years, it's like it's harder to actually do now. And I always wonder why. And then I realized, most of those dreams basically became reality, so it's like, it's one of those things where I say, oh, it's actually becoming a reality. So is that something I actually dream about? It's like it's something I actually do. So it's one of those we call it those mind blasts where they say, yeah, bruh, yeah, it's one of those things where you realize, damn, you're actually achieving your dreams. you know, actually achieving your dreams. So it's like, yeah, man. So for people that listen, this is just one of those, I guess, motivational episode to say, yo, you know, uh, one day you might can achieve your dream as well, as long as you dream about it. Yeah, it can happen. As long as you can think about it, it can happen. Because here I am right now. And I guess I have more dreams that I want to accomplish. But I'll take it one day at a time. But I don't want to really drink to myself now and then make the rest of them don't come true. But I just got stop it here because I'm just to say, yeah, this podcast is just basically all those random stories that I would have make up and such like that is me telling it to you now. And the difference is they actually real stories, things that actually happen. And it's like, bro, yeah. So thank you for listening and look forward for the next episode.
Well, this is the end of the episode. Thanks for watching and look forward for the next episode. To support this podcast, go to anchor.fm/CSSB/support or become a sponsor for this episode. If you have a product that you want to have more exposure, DM me on the Instagram page, Reframing Mindset Podcast, or on Twitter at ReframingP. Either way would help. Thank you regardless for listening, and here's a preview for the next episode.
You know, is the topic is basically loving your career choice, or it's one of those questions where you have, it's one of those questions that you're basically going to come through and say, oh, do I really love the thing that I choose that I want to do for the rest of my life or something like that? Even though you don't really have to do it for the rest of your life, because but it's one of those things that came to me with science. I never really, science is just one of those things that I actually genuinely like it. It does. I can't deny it. It's one of those things that I just genuinely like it, and it's one of those things that I actually genuinely like it and look into and see how this whole pandemic has gone and something like that. I kind of see through the whole facade, and doing my whole degree and all these things. Actually going through the ranks, starting from zero and